what we want to talk about. AI, well, I think it's not a surprise. But let me start a little bit differently before I start with AI. I want to share a thing that sometimes happen in our life, that things are running differently than we all expect or we calculate. When I finalized my school, it was 1988, then as a lot of other young people thought about what you want to do. And the first idea I had was, I'm becoming a pilot. As you know, I live in Germany, and in Germany, Lufthansa at that point in time was a very good company. So what I did, I applied Lufthansa to become a pilot. And you need to know, in Germany, you finalize school around April of a year, and then all the universities, education starts somewhere in September, October. So you have a little bit of time in this period. So I applied to become a pilot. I was invited. You have to do some tests. It's a very special education. It's not a classical university. It's a practical education to become a pilot. And Lufthansa said, yes, we want you. And I said, I don't want. And the reason for that was, is it really so good to travel around the globe your entire life? I said, no, I don't want this. I said, Lufthansa, was good. No, I go to university, will study something, will become a pilot. Okay. Then what do you do? I grew up in a family where even in the 1980s, it was normal for us to interact with computers. Reason for that, my father built in 1980 a company for a consulting firm in the software business. So it was normal for me to act with software, with PCs. I still have one of the first generation of an IBM PC at home. And I said, all this software piece, not mine. I already know everything. That was wrong, I know, but that was my thinking. So I'm not studying something with information technology. I want to know how the things behind the scenes are working. So I decided to study electrical engineering. So then in October, I started with electrical engineering, University of Dortmund. And during the time, a topic became more and more important, and that was artificial intelligence. Roughly 1991. And then I had my master thesis in artificial neural networks with coordinate maps at that point in time. It's a very small version of neural networks. And I made my master in this. And then I got some offers, one from a university, one here in the US from the NASA, to work in this topic. I decided, this topic has no future. I don't want this. I applied for a consulting job at SAP. So I've started as a consultant working for SAP, and at that point in time, I was in the technology space, traveling a lot around the globe. 1 day in Paris, 2 days in Hamburg, 2 days in Vancouver, wherever. So in 1 year, I had a HON status with Lufthansa, and you remember I decided not to become a pilot because of this traveling around. So things sometimes are changing fast. So after a while now, I'm roughly 30 years with SAP, and you remember I decided not to go into AI 30 years back, and now I'm here and telling you something about AI. So very interesting change. So let's start after this short introduction. So, before we come to AI, let's talk for 2-3 minutes about how the world behaves today. And this is completely different than if I compare that with 30 years back when I started to study or to work for SAP 30 years back. The world is changing faster than ever. You all know that. But very often in the daily life, we forget this. We are busy with trying to get customers, to help customers, to reorganize an organization, or depends on what you are doing, other things in the day-to-day business. And we forget what's happened in the last 20 years. If you have a look, for example, on the S&P 500 index, and you check and you compare two lists, 2024 and the year 2000, do yourself this pleasure and compare both lists. And you will see that a significant share of the companies in the S&P 500 20 years back, or 24 years back, and today are gone. They disappear. And that never happened before in this speed. Do you remember when the first launch was? Somebody remember? 2007, exactly. And it was an iPhone 1 presented by Steve Jobs. And I remember he said, oh, I want to present an iPod. I want to present a phone. And I want to present an internet device in one device. And if you have a look now, 17 years later, what is all about this phone? It doesn't matter if it's an iPhone or an Android or whatever, but it's no longer an iPod, an internet device, and a phone. By the way, most of the people don't use it as a phone. It's a camera. For a lot of people, it's in the meantime a professional camera. It's a paying device. You go to pay with that. And I could continue now for hours to tell you what is all about this. And just in 17 years from having an iPhone 1 that was more or less useless, and now it's the most important device in the world. Other things happened in a short period of time. You all know some easy examples. All the people in my age remember CD to play music, to have a DVD to play or to watch a movie. It's gone completely, as an example. Companies who, for example, 10 years or 15 years back, their business model was to create hardware, to create a universal remote control. I think some of you remember these things. Today, the universal remote control is here. And these companies need now to develop software for this device. So a complete different approach. And if you think about what can happen now going forward, could even faster. Think about, I'm coming from Germany, so automotive is a very popular topic in Germany. And we yesterday discussed this. We are in the automotive sector in two different types of transformations. One transformation is to become to electrical cars, that's one thing. And what most of the people don't know, the production death of an electrical car is significantly less than of a classical car. And in parallel, we discussed AI in cars and self-driving cars. And now think about what does it mean. Maybe in 5 years, maybe in 10 years, we have self-driving electrical cars and we no longer own cars. We maybe just order via our smartphone. an autonomous car that brings us from A to B. So if this will happen, and I'm not saying this will happen, but it can happen, then the business model from an automotive company is a completely different. Because we learned, electrical car is less production deaths, roughly 1/3. If you no longer own the car, a typical car usage a day is 1 hour, not more. And this includes trucks, buses, everything. If the typical usage is 1 hour, because you own the car, it's in front of your office, it's in front of your home, if you now use a car on demand, you can increase significantly the usage of a car. Means no longer 1 hour per day, maybe 8 hours or 10 hours, because it's shared. And now reflect, what would this mean for an automotive company? If you have less production death, multiplied with less cars you need, and maybe people no longer buy, so you need a different business model. It's just one example. And this can happen everywhere. It's not only with IT. We see with 3D printing complete new options. What happens if in 10 years we print our food and the entire supply chain will disappear? So we print our meat or whatever at home. Could happen. We print our spare parts. Or we yesterday saw cruise ships. What is, and we discussed this yesterday, if in 10 years we no longer go to physical vacation? We go to virtual vacation. What I want to say is the speed and the paradigms are changing completely in the speed we never saw before. And with that, I personally like this statement from Klaus Schwab. In the new world, it's no longer that the big fish is eating the small fish. In the new world, the fast fish is eating the slow fish. And now I come, after more than 10 minutes, to AI. And what is the question? The question we have to answer, how to be the fast one. No longer how to be the big one. We need to answer how to be the fast one. And now, AI is one key element, and I'm not explaining you how to implement AI, but I want to show you one, from my perspective, most important topic in the next 2-3 years. And that is, we are in a very critical situation in the moment. Most of you know this hype curve of something. Hype, and then it goes down, and then afterwards the value is coming. When the curve is slow, that is not a risk. Why is it not a risk? Because you see when it's slowly go into the direction of value, and then you can jump on. Today, it's so fast that you maybe realize too late when it's the point in time to jump on a topic. And that's happened in the moment with AI. AI is already above this high point of this hype curve. It's going down now. Some special things happen. But in our daily life, in the companies, if you go in your companies, in your organization, in your department, and talk to your people, doing the daily business, running finance, running procurement, most of these people have nothing to do or not interested in AI on a daily basis. And that's what I try to convince you now. Start now, enable these people. Go in your organization and prepare your people. I'm not talking about IT here. I'm not talking about prepare your IT. That is coming later. I'm talking about preparing your normal, regular employees running your company, your department or your unit. And that is so, from my perspective, so essential that you are prepared when the curve from coming down from hype to value creation, that you are and your organization is prepared. So how to do that? And I can tell you, I have a large organization with a lot of consultants. And you can imagine consultants are not happy with AI. Because consultants, what is consultants? They are brain workers. So they avoid to connect to AI. So what we need to do is to convince this group of employees that makes sense to invest. Because I'm completely convinced that in some years, only these employees will survive who interact somehow with AI, use AI on a daily basis. So first step, enablement. Try to enable your normal employees, not your IT people, your normal employees in regards to AI. Explain them, what is it, what is possible today, and make them aware of the speed of change. I always hear, oh, that is not possible with AI. Everybody is going to this current state. But one question, who knows or has a feeling how long did it take, I think it was 1999 when Netflix appeared, that Netflix come to a 1 million user? How long? What do you think? How long it took? Huh? Pardon? 3.5. 3.5. 2006 was Twitter. What do you think how long Twitter took to become a million user? It was 2006, I think. 2 years. 2022, ChatGPT appears. How long did it take that ChatGPT had 1 million user? 5 days, exactly. We can continue with threats from when was threats open? I don't remember. 23 was 1 day for 1 million users. So you see how fast. And so please make your employees aware what does it mean and motivate them to act with that. And now you ask me, how can you do that? You have two opportunities from my perspective. One opportunity is what I did as an example. Again, I have a consulting firm in the technical space, and I ask my organization, we do a competition. Please generate a picture that is as realistic as possible with a truck bringing some dirt from A to B. Sounds very simple. Intention was that people start to use AI to generate pictures. It has nothing to do with their job. What do you think, how many people we got back? I have 2,500 employees. What do you think? 100,000 pictures. We really received 100,000 pictures. It was very challenging to say who won, but it's a different story. But it gave us the opportunity that people started to interact. The second thing, what you can think about is, and it depends on the size of your organization, but implement a kind of front runner. People who are in the business, again, not in IT, in the business and see the daily life of the people and promote things. Give you one example. In reality, I have managers. These managers are hiring people, and still what they do, if you hire people, you have, the first step is a job posting. The first step is to get a vacancy, but different story. But after that, you have to describe the job profile, you post the job, and then you start to recruit. I bet even in our organization, most of the people still write the job posting by hand. Would be so easy to generate these things. So, but in the moment when you have front runners, people who talk to the people on a daily basis, give time to your employees to try things out. For example, generating postings. Or what we did is, for example, we tried out to automatically this classical process description and generate code out of that, as an example. So, and if you have people motivating other people, you can convince your entire organization. And then everybody is waiting for the big thing in AI, in his or her company. My proposal, start small. You can think big. But it's much more important to achieve small, little things, that people see a benefit, even if it's not a huge benefit, but maybe have half an hour a day, no longer needed, and can be used for networking at the coffee machine. This is even more important, so start small and think big to motivate your people to come to that. And there are, of course, it depends on your company, a lot of other options to motivate your people and to enable your people. Nevertheless, of course, you need to prepare your technology as well. This is now, of course, I'm coming from SAP, so a little bit SAP, but you could map this to every other technology as well. But if you have an SAP landscape, and Victor is very busy in the SAP space, so we have three options of using AI. One thing is we have so-called embedded AI. That means where we are using algorithms to improve the quality of a process. I simplify a little bit. Instead of having a classical algorithm distributing goods to shops, we now have an algorithm that's trained, for example, with the weather information or with the behavior during the year or whatever. And such a trained algorithm is now distributing the goods much better. The second thing we have is, you heard it yesterday, Joule is our co-pilot, means an assistant, an intelligent assistant. And such an assistant, we are focusing on business processes, but there are other assistants out there. So for example, Microsoft Copilot is a very good example. Even a classical ChatGPT could be a kind of assistant for your employees. So prepare the infrastructure that your people can use this. It's very important that everybody has easy access, not somewhere in your company portal in the 27th desk after clicking the entire day, somebody found per accident the access to this. So prepare your infrastructure that your organization is able to use that. And in our case, of course, we are creating a lot of custom-specific use cases with our partners, with our customers. And here, if you are on the other side of the house, there is one key element I want quickly to talk about. If you bring both together, the employees and the technology, the key aspect are the use cases and how you come to use cases, especially if we talk about small things, not the big thing. Somebody in the company decided, oh, now we can as we saw yesterday in the medical area where we have an AI algorithm to create drugs, that's a different story. I'm talking about the organization who is running the business in the daily life. And here, bring together the end user on the one hand side, so really the people who are doing the job, and the IT people, both. And if you bring both together, you will see this group can create awesome use cases. And use cases that can be realized, not theoretical things that maybe happen in 2, 3, 4 years. That can be done in 2 months and can bring a direct impact on the daily work. And here, my proposal, if you, for example, run workshops with your end users and your IT department, then here you definitely need somebody who can moderate these type of workshops. And please, can be somebody from the company or somebody from an external advice company, but use somebody independent who can moderate these two groups. It's very often very interesting. I did a lot of these things. If IT people and end users coming together, suddenly people become eyes, very great eyes. Why? Because on the one hand side, suddenly IT understands, oops, what they need, I never thought about that. And on the other hand side, the end users say, oops, that is possible? Really? And then suddenly great ideas happen in these types. So please do me a favor and moderate these type of things somehow a little bit independent. Let me use the last 3 minutes, I have 3 more minutes, about one topic that is very AI specific. And please have it on the radar that if you remember this curve, at a dedicated point in time, the AI topic will speed up and create value. Now we prepared our people. We have prepared our IT. One more topic. Most of you, I would bet, have somehow in your company's core values. And it's normal to deal with core values in companies. How a company behaves, what it stands for. As you yesterday said, we want to create to support the communities. These are core values of a company. And in the past, it was easy because you trained your people with these core values. When you hired people, you explained to them, oh, that are our values. With the community in the companies, people learned what are our core values? What do we stand for? How do we want to behave? It was easy because it was supported by IT, but IT was always programmed. It was if, then, else. And if, then, else was developed by somebody with these core values. And automatically, if, then, else had the same core values than the person who developed this algorithm. Now, with AI, we know it's no longer if then else. That is the main advantage of AI. That's no longer if then else. On the other hand side, if you work with AI, you need to have in mind that on the one hand side, what you get, and here companies where you buy, you need to check if these companies follow these type of rules. Or if you train models by yourself, for example, please have in mind that whatever you do, this framework is following your values, your principles. Because, again, it's not if, then, else. There is an algorithm that is trained, and now I'm a little bit provocative, what is a digital copy of a brain. And the decision process in such a digital brain is no longer if then else. It's similar to us. We very often not follow if then else our decisions. And that means implement governance structures, mechanisms that allows you to ensure that with the usage of AI, you follow your core values as well. So how can this be done, or what is an example? Imagine for a minute we just had this example with writing a job posting and hiring people. Let's use this example. If you use a model to decide the selection phase number 1 of applications you are getting for a job, and you trained your model with the wrong data, it can happen that in this selection process, people will be selected for an interview that maybe does not fit to your core values. I use a classical example. You decide you want to have a fair share between male and female. And if you trained your model, and this happened in the past in the market, if you trained your model with wrong data, for example, the model learned that females are always better than males, then maybe the selection process will lead to this situation as well. And maybe this does not fit to your values. One very small example, and you can continue. Or you have an algorithm in regarding automatic payment of bills. And your core value is that maybe you want to pay every bill in the first 30 days. That is your philosophy. In the past, easy. If, then else, pay. If you now have an algorithm who is automatically deciding on different aspects when to pay, you have to train your model in a way that it still fits to your 30-day rule, as an example. So, having said that, what are the 2 key takeaways? First of all, prepare your employees, prepare your infrastructure, and I'm sure if you do so, when we come to the point when AI speeds up, and this will happen in the next 2-3 years, and creates value, you are prepared, and you will stay in the S&P 500 and not disappear as a lot of other companies in the last 24 years. And with that, thanks a lot, and happy to answer questions.